back their treaties like they're supposed to, then we would have no need to file lawsuits. If they would back the treaties and say, we're not accepting these breaches, we're cutting off ties with the nations that don't, incorporate allowing citizenship rights for freedmen, then we just cut off ties with you. We're not giving you any more money. We're not giving you any more funding. And I mean, really stick to that, make it compliant, and make it inside of legislation. Now, Maxine Waters does have a piece of legislation coming out that has a compliance component that says if they don't comply with letting the freedmen in, then they're not going to get their benefits for housing. And it's the HASDAC. It's from the HASDAC legislation that's pending. Still pending. I don't know why it's still pending. They've had discussion and everything about it. I don't know where it is to date, but I know it's still pending. And that legislation is something you want to watch.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it's also something that you want to promote to your Congress people. You want to say, we want to see these protections that protect freedmen, but you guys are not protecting us under this treaty. And why aren't you doing that? But that's still a question. Why aren't they protecting the freedmen under their own treaty, which they say that we're supposed to have citizenship rights within the Creek Nation under Article 2? Now, why aren't you, enforcing it? That's still, a question that hasn't been answered, in my opinion. Because if you're answering that, then you'll say, hey, you got to stop the breach immediately, or this is going to happen, Can't be a passive way to deal with this, because they're already breaching the treaty. They've been breaching it since '79. They're going to continue to do so as long as there's not a real enforcement of that, not a real compliance component. So the journey of writing this took me to, I put in the book, it's about 30 years since we started writing, researching in the 90s, and going to different places. I'm sure I might even ran into one at the archives. We dug in many archives and historical museums and things within Oklahoma, not just Oklahoma City. We went to Oklahoma, Muskogee, Fort Worth, Texas. It is a process. So it takes years to gather this information. Some of the information in the book does cost you like hundreds of dollars. So land jackets is what they call them, land jackets. If you know your relatives have land in Oklahoma and you request it from the National Archives in Fort Worth, they're going to charge you. And it's not cheap. Back when I got it, it was hundreds of dollars. I don't know what it costs today, but it's very expensive because the documents are as large as this table. They're maps, they're telling you where your relatives' land was. Their allotments, and allotment papers are huge. They're not like what's in here. They're big pieces of paper. So when you get this envelope, it's huge envelope. It's not a small thing. Back then, I guess, they didn't have small paper they wrote on. They wrote on big, huge papers, like scrolls. So it's interesting when you see these documents for real, that they use such large paper too. So it's good in a way, because, I think it's well preserved that way. But it is very cumbersome if you take the documents around it. So I have had to make them more accessible by shrinking them down. But if you see the large document, then you'll see how it is. But these documents are still accessible in National Archives. It's just that African Americans have to dig and dig and dig for their information. it's unfortunate, and I think I put that in the book, that I feel that because everyone here has descendants that probably came from slavery, they've been denied their history because they've been separated, their families have been separated. So the government should give us the stuff without any cost to us. And they should give us a whole genealogy workup to say who and where we came from. It's interesting how they haven't done that. I think if they uncover and they tell you the real truth, you'll find, like the Blue family, a big beach out there that you had access to, that your ancestors owned. And then that means you would be entitled to that. And that's in California, that Manhattan Beach, beautiful beach. Now, if they find, of course, they already knew that descendants of African Americans own that, and they have to give it back to them. You know, so the Los Angeles County supervisors decided, and the city of Los Angeles decided to finally give ownership where it was supposed to be, you know. So this is the thing, if you really research your ancestry, you may uncover a lot of hidden treasure that leads back to something. There's no way, if you think about it, we descendants of African Americans here that were tied to the Indian Nation, if they owned over 1 million acres of land, some of that land had to have valuable minerals and natural things underneath the ground. That, you know, it wasn't just throwaway land. They thought that people in the Osage Nation were given some throwaway land. And they found out they had very rich and valuable land. In fact, if you go up there visiting in Pahuska, it's beautiful up there. It doesn't even look like Oklahoma. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, you know?
It's the biggest county, if I'm not mistaken.
It is? Oh, really? Osage, is that true?
It's the biggest county in Oklahoma.
I know it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there. Yeah, it's gorgeous, and, you know, they thought that was throwaway land. And then they found out how wealthy the Native Americans were back then. I think their wealth was over, like, almost $500 million worth in the 20s. That's a lot of money. So, you know, it drew in all kinds of scoundrels in there, you know. They were looking for it, you know, ways to get their hands on that. So it's the same thing today. You know, people looking to keep what they know they have. By people digging up information, this leads them to these valuable pieces of land that someone is benefiting right now. And it's not me. So somebody else is benefiting from this land. We are supposed to not even be poor at all, according to all this history, all this land. None of us should have to be worried about anything. That's what I see. That's what this leads to. But if we had more of this kind of stuff that's released out, that's why I really am grateful to Kenyatta for telling me to do that. Because we have more of it released out, more people will know how valuable, you know, the land ownership was of African Americans, not just in Greenwood area, because some of Greenwood came from the freedmen. Some of that land was freedmen land, whether it was Cherokee freedmen or Creek freedmen, some of that land still goes back to that time. We still have all these all-black towns, and those black townships, like Bowley, that's Creek freedmen land. So those are descendants that come from the same areas. Our people came within Tallahassee. I went through there a few years ago. It's not in good shape. But they have a young African-American mayor, and and we're partnered with people to really raise money to try to bring it back around. They're building a community center there and a sports center so they can have baseball games and other things there. So they're trying to bring it, revive it. They want volunteers to, support the community. This is where our people are from, along with other areas, Osmuggy, Muskogee, but, originally they were in these areas. And some relatives we have today are still living in those areas. And in Tulsa, we have them scattered through. We don't know all of our ancestors. I only know a portion of them. It's so much more to discover. That's why I tell people it's really good to research as much information as you can. Pull out as much as you can. Because they're talking about reparations. And when they talk about reparations, they're going to say, well, where's your proof that your ancestors were enslaved in the first place? So you would have to probably show some proof to even get anything like reparations. California is talking about it right now, giving reparations. But I guarantee you, they're going to only say, if you can prove that your ancestors were enslaved, we'll give it to you. And they're going to have some stipulations to that. They are. That's what they're going to do. That's how the bureaucracy works. But it wouldn't matter. I would want to know that information. It's good to know that information. I think it's valuable information. Once you get this information, it's very powerful. And Ron can tell you, it's very powerful to have this information. Because you can talk in a different way when you're talking about supporting freedmen and supporting their rights. You can talk about your own ancestry, people that had value in the Creek Nation. They worked the land. They worked the land for other people that benefit from that. And then they work their own. So you have these people that have really invested a lot into these nations that now have been just overlooked and kicked out. Now, how is that possible, Well, it's possible if you ignore the facts. And that's why I'm not ignoring the facts. I talk about it. I don't care if I'm talking to Native Americans, Caucasian, African Americans, or mixed blood, whoever. They should know, this information is so important for the next generation. I'm not going to be here forever. The next generations of people should know what this is all about. Because nobody will be able to tell us, how it is. So I tried to simplify in the book as much as I could what we're talking about. I didn't want to, I could write it more in a public policy way, but I tried to write it to get everybody to understand what we're doing, what's going on, how it relates. Now, I want to say that the picture on the front of the cover is Adam Grayson. And his picture is on the Historical Society, but Adam was married to one of our ancestors. That's why he's here. I have a picture of Ocean Blue. But in the book, I talk about how all of us are really Ocean Blue. So I use his face for this cover. So he is not Ocean Blue. I don't have a real description of Ocean Blue, Calvin Anderson. And I don't know that any of our relatives would even have that picture. We don't have a picture of you. We don't have this picture as well. So it is, something I'm trying to make a point that we're all part of this, story of the denial of citizenship rights. So I'm going to end on one thing. I just want to make sure that you guys are encouraged. I can encourage you. Ron is here. You can talk to him. We have encouragement that we believe that these citizenship rights we will get them this year or next year. We believe it. And we believe it because there's working behind the scenes to get this going. You know, the more we talk about this, the more we put it out there, the better it is for us, you know. Like I said, when I talk about this, a lot of people are very receptive to even if they have difference of opinion, they are accepting of this information because it's new revelations for some people. Oh, but they never seen this, they never knew this. So you got to give people the benefit of the doubt that they haven't seen this. And this stuff that I'm telling you, it's not easy to get. Ron can say it's very tedious, time-consuming work. It takes time to dig it, find it, to locate it, and to verify whether you really got the right stuff. Because you could be looking in one area and it just may not be, and you have to keep looking, keep digging. It's like putting a piece of a puzzle together. We don't really have a roadmap, but we're putting it together along the way, and over the years, it's just taken us this long to get there. But I want to thank you guys for coming out, supporting the book. I'm going to leave it to questions and answers now. If anybody want to ask me anything, go for it. Anybody? I know you guys have fun. Everybody has this quiet.
You did an excellent job.
I know Ron ain't quiet.
Well, I mean, you did an excellent job. You really did. I was going to ask you about that picture in the cover because I knew who that was. I knew it wasn't Opie Drew.
You already covered it.
So,
You already covered it.
This is Adam Grayson.
That's my relative right there.
So you see how we're tied to this, you know? But Adam Grayson was married to Lena.
Yeah, he's like a distant cousin. My ancestors were Grayson.
Yeah. So, I mean, and Ron knows that the Grayson name came from the enslavement too, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there was enslavement, and Melinda and Carter Grayson, they were enslaved too. And they were part of the Chief William McIntosh group. But you know, Chief William McIntosh, they exed him out.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible.
They exed him out because they felt that he was a traitor to the Creek Nation. And they didn't like his dealings with the government. They were like, you got to go. That's how Delilah got the.
If you go a Creek or Cherokee, I hear both sides.
Say that again.
Creek or Cherokee, which side?
For who?
For Andersons.
Creek.
Creek, 'cause I heard you say, I heard you say Cherokee a couple of times.
Well, the Cherokee freedmen, there are Cherokee freedmen that have gotten their citizenship rights.
Okay.
But we, as the Anderson family, are Creek.
Creek. Okay.
The Creek freedmen.
Okay.
But we know all of the freedmen, different nations, and we do talk and work together. Ron is Creek freedman. Jaquita, aren't you Creek freedman and Seminole? I think Jaquita is both, you know. Some people can be both, but we, as Anderson, are Creek freedmen.
And I say that because the Bruners was brothers, and one was Seminole, one was.
Well, you got one that was Seminole. His name was Caesar Bruner. And then two other brothers was Creek freedmen. They were Payroll Bruner and William Bruner.
But interesting, Payroll, which is the Peter's ancestor, he was number one. He's number one.
That's right.
Creek Freedman. Number one. You can't even miss his number because it's number one. You can't forget that. When you see that, you know he was first listed as a descendant of Creek Freedman. He's the first one. So that's very interesting in itself. I was telling Peter, that's a story all in itself, how he became listed as number one.
Did you know a guy named Stephen Bruner?
Yep.
I just did his, he had an appeal with the Creek Nation.
Yep. My dad was involved in that as well.
What was your
Nick
name?
Bruner.
I do remember Stephen.
Yeah, because my daddy had documents and stuff that.
See, so we kind of know each other in that way.
Yep.
But
And I wanted Stephen to meet you, and it's been on my mind, so that is so good to know. I ex the middleman because that was one of my conversations to Stephen. Was I wanted to meet you.
I think one of the biggest things that, like you said, stuff needs to get out there is people think that there is no benefit. Oh, it's just your heritage. No. You understand what they did. I'm Cherokee, and we did just, clean up, but I'm still in the fight for food. Cousins, they have already proven, but I'm still, my mother's my land. But bottom line, I found out over doing some of this stuff how you have to, they could never sell the land. So that means if you can prove, then you got to go back to court, but the land is still out. So every child, grandchild, everybody's supposed to get they allotment. Every 5 civilized tribes. But like you said, each individual tribe is individual. Yeah, they sovereignty. But the biggest thing is it is the land. The land is the money. It is everything. They ain't making no more like they say. So the thing that people don't understand is it is a big deal. They just think that, oh, it ain't. I done heard my relatives older. Oh, don't worry about that stuff. Ain't nothing gonna come out. You grown now. You don't get no scholarship. I got kids and grandkids. They can get something.
They need their
If I get some of the
education.
land, like you talking about, what you talking about? The Cherokee, we own OSU. I'm from Tulsa. But we own, my family own a lot of allotments around where you're talking about. Because the lady that was helping us, like you say you helped him, she said, y'all got a lot of land. Now she could see that. I couldn't see that. But when she's breaking everything down to me, I said, oh, now I see why they keep trying to keep us away from it, because they're gonna lose so much land to us and our siblings and everything, grandchildren, where we should, like she said, we shouldn't be poor. We should be one of the richest black states in America, because the whole state was given to the 5 civilized tribes, blacks and Indians. But like you said, up there in New York or whatever, there was Indians that was black, period. Like hers was number one, mine was down the line, but my great grandmother was born on Indian land, on the as slaves or whatever. Like
Reservation.
Yeah, on the reservation. All that makes a big difference, but if you can prove, it is a big deal. That's all I'm trying to tell you. I'm fighting every day because it is a big deal. And we need to get more people to see it is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's everything. Who wouldn't pay to have some land right now?
Or free education. Instead of paying $1 million for schooling.
I'm fighting it every day like you're talking about, so I know. I haven't read it, but I know there's some good stuff in there, but we have to get it out.
Yes, absolutely. And the value of the land, like you're saying, is valuable land. It's not wasteland. It's very valuable land.
Well, you can imagine, we own the whole state. So, yeah, they just like the flowers of the moon, that moon that's coming out.
Yeah.
That's a real, true story.
Yeah.
They killed them people for this land.
So, for one allotment, how much is one allotment of land worth?
I don't know.
It depends on the land.
Yeah.
Where it's
Yeah,
at,
Yeah,
that's right.
something like that.
And today, land 5,000 plus, but it depends on where it's worth, and that's just for an acre or something, you know. But it depends on where it's at because location matters most. Like we know, we was told his family, their land was where the Greenwood and all of that is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so you know that's a whole nother issue.
Cause I heard that they got 160 acres.
Per
Everybody,
family. Mhm.
every
In the
person,
Nation.
every
It's already
individual.
It's in the Creek
Right.
Nation.
And that's how it was in
60
Cherokee also,
acres is a
yes.
lot of land.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then if it's in a certain place with those oil wells and
Yeah,
Farmland,
yeah.
you know,
It is
It's
substantial valuable land, I'll tell you why. Because in the Creek Nation, they have some of the richest land in
Sure.
Oklahoma. Their land around Tulsa and all those around there, that's some of the richest land. Go ahead, Ron.
Have anybody heard of Sarah Richter?
I heard of it.
Okay, that was a distant cousin. I knew that as a child. My grandmother always told me because she would play with Sarah Richter. Okay, she grew up with. My grandmother was a original Alati. She received 160 acres along with my dad. But Sarah Richter was the richest black lady in the world, well, in the United States at one time. Right there in the Creek Nation. you
same
know.
thing, they did the same thing to her.
And so, I mean, the land was worth a lot then. You know?
Back then.
But I mean, its prices now, like my man said, you just don't get land anywhere. You can't go to Walmart and get land.